my first impressions of the Raven Winged Hours, um, when I got the commission, was first of all, what a cool project it sounded like. It was a very original idea, and the thought of writing music to a long text like this was a really interesting challenge that I was really interested in taking. I loved the dramatic arc of the piece, and I could really sense where the music might go in it from the beginning. So I felt excited about it. I was definitely nervous. When I saw what lied ahead, I was just a little overwhelmed, and wasn't quite sure how I would compose what turned out to be a 25-minute operatic scene. Really, the initial struggle was really just finding the musical language of both of these people and having them be different but in the same musical world, um, and finding a way that the structure would hold together. And what was interesting about the piece also is that I got to go to both sides. When I wrote for her, I was looking at Poe, not being Poe, and so like a mirror in a way, and it was I was able to sort of see him objectively when she was singing, and then be him when I was writing for him. The rehearsal process was really exciting and fun for me. I don't do a lot of conducting, and the conducting I do is choral conducting. So this was really my first time conducting live instruments besides a piano, and I was a little nervous at first, but the experience was very different and really gratifying, of singing and conducting my own music compared to other people's music. I wasn't really feeling like a conductor when I was doing it. I was really hearing my music in my head, and my arms were just flinging to what I was hearing in my head. For myself, the rehearsal process was a long one. It's a very difficult part to sing, and I wasn't planning on singing it when I wrote it. I spent quite a few months preparing for it. Amy Justman, our wonderful soprano, I didn't have to rehearse her very much. She's a pro, and had the music down very quickly and did a beautiful job. Well, vocally, this piece is a bit of a monster for the tenor, which is why I wasn't going to sing it originally. The range is I think a step over 2 octaves, which is pretty rangy. And it hangs low, it hangs high. If there's soft, there's loud. There's quiet, tender moments, and there are screaming, hysterical moments. And there's actually literally screaming, hysterical moments. So it was definitely a challenge. It was, you have to be relaxed to get through this thing. And obviously in the studio, we stopped and started a lot, so it was a little easier to do. In a live performance, it's going to be a challenging piece for someone. To show you a range of different aspects of the voice used for this. The first thing Poe sings is very low for a tenor, anyway. It is a day of days, a day of all days. Then there's this very tender duet moment with Virginia, where they do this sort of canon, and this all needs it to be done in head voice. So it's and now it was that we wrapped our spirits in dreaming. That sort of sound. So it uses that there, and then immediately goes down to there was a dim mist over all the earth. This is a spot I like. All right. The spectre which sits at our feasts, so grew in my heart the dread of that evil hour. Thus in time it became painful to love. And then comes the aria where Virginia asks him to tell the whole story of how he passed over into the other world. And it starts off very simple. To dream has been the business of my life. I have framed for myself, as you see, a bower of dreams. Then there are some parts. There's this one section that's very light and based on the whole tone scale. There is a remembrance of aerial forms, of sounds musical yet sad. An evening closes in upon me, and then the darkness comes and goes, and the day again dawns, and mist. So and mist. So what's happening is these sections keep going up half steps, and then it gets to the high point, and then they come down in half steps. And then there's this one little moment that comes out of the texture, and in its stead there reigns, instead of anything, only a point in the vague infinity. So here's one of Blue's favorite spots. This is actually a kind of a fun part to sing, this part. Flaring and flickering tongues. Luckily, I grew up with a piano in my home, though I didn't start studying piano until I was 13. And I didn't study for very long, which is evident in the way I play. I didn't know I had a voice until in junior high. I auditioned for the choir because somebody made me, and apparently I had a good voice, and I never knew I did. So from then on, I was sort of smitten with the whole thing. I was in choir through junior high, high school, college, doing a lot of solos. I wrote my first choral music in high school, which we performed in Europe. Then performed some roles in musicals in high school. It was a West Side Story, and then I did Linus and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And through this time, I was writing a lot of pop songs, a lot of unrequited love songs. That's all I seemed to be able to write when I was young. I don't know. It's kind of sad. But and then in college, I majored in voice and I was cast mostly in character roles in the main stage shows, but did all kinds of different parts with the Opera Workshop. Did some other roles around town in LA. And then I moved up to San Francisco And after a year up there, I got into the San Francisco Opera Chorus. I was the youngest full-time member in the chorus. And I was in the chorus for 5 years, and performed roles in musicals and operas around town in San Francisco as well. And also covered a role in Parsifal in San Francisco Opera, and did a quartet in L'Africaine with Domingo, which was very exciting. And then I started writing musicals when I lived in San Francisco. And then I began work on a musical about the Ceausescus of Romania. I just found the story very interesting, the end of their reign there. I moved back to LA for a year and studied film scoring, and then came out here to New York and worked my way up from sleeping on floors. And soon after I got here, within a few months, I was able to get a few roles in some shows, but I needed to work, so I worked restaurant jobs and those sorts of things, sold cheese. I am a cheese lover, so I was kind of happy there. I haven't done a whole lot of solo singing in the last 20 years. I did a tour of a musical of A Christmas Carol, and some small roles in some opera, and directed some opera. And some of the other classical music I've written, I've only written vocal music. Being a singer, I guess that comes to me more easily. But I wrote 4 settings of Elizabeth Barrett Browning sonnets, and I've been very lucky to have those performed around the world, in Berlin and Austria, and then I got into the BMI Musical Theater Workshop and began writing musicals. Really, that became kind of my everyday activity. And from there, I have a musical of Pride and Prejudice, which was a Richard Rogers Award finalist, and I'm almost done writing another show, which I'm very excited about. And then I was very excited to get this commission to write The Raven-Winged Hours, and that's been a real challenge and joy this last year to work on. I've written a lot of choral music. I sing at Park Avenue Synagogue. I've been there for about 13 years, and I've been commissioned by them to write a lot of music. And so I sing around town. I music direct. I work as a teaching artist in schools doing musical theater programs. So I have some opera ideas that I would like to write, but writing operas is a long process if you have to work also, work jobs. I mean, so it's kind of hard to do. I would love to be able to be somewhere in a hut somewhere for a year and just work on these other pieces that I have rolling around in my head. But yeah, that's me.